A warm welcome back to my channel, everybody. My name is Karen Saunders. In tonight's video interview, I will be talking to Sabine again, and this will be part two of her interview. As we mentioned before in part one, Sabine's involvement with BEROEAN Pickets was pretty comprehensive because she was responsible for supporting two groups, one in Germany and the other one in the American group. So Sabine has quite a lot of experiences that she needs to talk about and that we need to unpack. In the last interview, if I can just refresh everybody's memory, Sabine actually started to talk about the uncomfortable experiences that she had with BEROEAN Pickets, and she addressed one core issue, which was basically Eric's smear campaign against the group and how they were kicked off the meeting schedule based on a lie. So tonight's interview, part two, we'll be doing a deeper dive into some topics that Sabine will actually bullet point and then we'll discuss. So I would just like to invite dear Sabine to the channel. Thank you, Sabine. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm fine, and you, Karen?
Very well, my friend. Good to see you. That beautiful smile. Awesome. It's contagious.
Thank you so much. It's coming back. It's coming back now.
No, it's so lovely to see you happy. Lovely. It's very, very nice. So
Also,
as I oh as I
I just wanted
introduced,
to say, because you are giving us a voice, this is doing it, it means so much to all of us. Just want to emphasize this. You are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much.
oh, thank you so much. I'm not doing it in my own strength. I can tell you that right now. But anything to do to support everybody and to just get these interviews and stories out to help others. That's the main objective, isn't it? So I know in tonight's interview, Sabine, you're going to be taking a little bit of a deeper dive into some other topics. So I will give you carte blanche, if I can say that, to tell me what those topics are going to be about, my friend.
Yeah,
Over to you.
we will probably manage the first three topics on the list for tonight, and there will be a third one. So the first one is Wendy's alleged loving rebuke that felt more like spiritual abuse. I will start with this right away. Then what happened in our group, also because of Lutz and his wife. That's important to also address. The toxic logic of forcing apologies and forgiveness onto others, and if this is biblical. And then probably next time we have a look into Wendy calls me a thief, among other things. Then the spiritual wedding, a little bit more in depth as well, which was enabled by Eric's double standards. The debate in Sorge, which was about emotional control to shut down free speech. And then the last point is, instead of interacting on equal footing, Eric resorts to AI tools to accuse me of cognitive fallacies. And then obviously what this all did to my mental health, and my final message to Eric and Wendy in part 3. Yeah.
Yes, that's that's very, very important. But this is your interview, so we get through what we get through, and it's very, very important that you share your experiences, especially as I said, because you had an integral part in the group, and of course you experienced many, many distressing things, Sabine. So yeah, at your own pace, my friend. Off you go.
Okay. I would like to start with one of Eric's comments I saw recently in the last few days. I think it was under his slander video. Love should always move us to seek what is best for another, even if that means we have to say things that offend them. Let's see if Eric and Wendy can accept this principle when it's applied to them.
Absolutely.
This interview, though, is no way intended to offend, I have to say, but rather to help others avoid being re-traumatized. That's our main intention. in another high control group, and also to help Eric and Wendy to reflect on their actions. And my message to them right now is, please try to put yourselves in our shoes and reflect on how you would feel if you were treated the way you have treated us. Before I begin, I want to mention again, as I already did in my first interview, that I consulted an experienced psychologist about the incidents with Wendy and Eric this summer and their later messages. Wendy knows that I'm in therapy due to my PTSD related to an accident. The psychologist said that their behavior was highly narcissistic, involving repeated boundary violations, manipulation such as gaslighting, projection, deflection, guilt tripping, double standards, use of authority, shifting responsibility. These behaviors aim to confuse, invalidate, and control, causing the victim to doubt their own reality, while the manipulator controls the narrative. My psychologist explained the various types of manipulation when they occurred, when we were talking about all these incidents, which was really eye-opening to me. I will share this with you as we proceed, so I will have always little snippets, and I will tell you what that actually means, what they said, and that is from him, obviously. He spoke about emotional, psychological, and mental abuse. He is not that familiar with spiritual abuse. Yeah, when he's alleged loving rebuke, that felt more like spiritual abuse. Eric states in his email dated the 24th of August, Wendy expected to have a quiet discussion between two spiritually mature sisters and dear friends who loved and respected one another. Instead, Sabine got loud and vocal, and Wendy followed suit. Anyone can see now for themselves if Wendy's actions, which triggered my reaction, were as quiet and respectful as Eric claims. I picked up Wendy and Eric on from Lutz's place. That was a 2-hour drive from Lucerne. At 9 a.m. the day before our Swiss gathering started. There was plenty of time to clear the air if they had wanted to before the gathering. The next day, the conversation on the stairs in front of the house where we rented for our gathering, with around 8 to 10 brothers already there, took an unexpected turn. Wendy, gesturing wildly, said, "I'm extremely disappointed in you." That was her first sentence, accusing me of replying coldly to Lutz's text. She said I should have been more accommodating and criticized me for having a closed heart, despite praising me just 10 days earlier for my big heart and not holding a grudge in a different matter. She continued saying Lutz cried after reading my message and that she wasn't fully satisfied with his apology either, despite pushing him for more. Wendy claimed, "You condemn Lutz and hand him over to an eternal death." She and Eric had discussed forgiveness with Lutz the day before, encouraging him to apologize. I'll provide more context later, but I want to quote everything I remember, as Eric often accuses others of lacking facts. So please bear with me. This will take a moment here to get that all together. I'd also like to mention that this wasn't a personal conflict between Lutz and me. This is really, really important. It was a group issue. It wasn't just a one-time incident. It was repeated aggressive behavior from Lutz in our Zoom and chat groups. I never removed him from the Bible Zooms, only from the chat groups. More on that also later. Wendy said, "We need to be like Jesus, who humbled himself and even washed Judas' feet." He showed that much love, and as children of God, we must imitate his love. And she was going more into depths with the foot washing scene. I explained that I saw this scene differently. Jesus wanted to have peaceful hours with the disciples before his death, and later introduced the Lord's Supper. He treated Judas as one of his own. He had done that all the time. And at that point, Judas hadn't betrayed him yet. Jesus wasn't trying to manipulate Judas into betraying him. He allowed Judas to use his free will later. Jesus didn't stop Judas, nor did he prevent his suicide, suggesting that if this was a lesson on love, he would have intervened. The foot washing was a lesson in humility, showing us to consider others higher than ourselves, especially in the light of the disciples' debates about who was the greatest. Forgiveness, as outlined in Luke 17, requires repentance and a change in behavior. Betrayed trust must be rebuilt through actions, not just words. All I had asked Lutz for was a clearer apology, what he was sorry for, who he was apologizing to, and what he would change in the future. His response felt more like a hint of a future apology, very vague, not a genuine one. The timing was also off as we were about to start our travels in Europe. Wendy said that if I didn't understand Jesus washing Judas' feet, in other words, her interpretation of it, the Holy Spirit could no longer flow between us. Yeah. I didn't understand Wendy's accusing tone. It felt judgmental and hurtful. She showed no interest in my perspective, only insisting on hers, quickly judging me and making a scene in front of our group. She apologized later, doing it in front of the group, but not for her actual attack. She still believes it was justified to invalidate my feelings, guilt-trip me, and even say I no longer had our Father's Spirit and was no longer a child of God. Who is she to say things like this? She knows I'm humble and willing to apologize when needed, as I've done that before. The situation saddened and traumatized me, especially since Wendy knew I had PTSD from an accident. It was a shock as we had been so close. I never expected in a million years she would have snapped like this at me, especially when she always said she hated arguments. Why start one with me, her closest friend? Why didn't she try to understand why I responded to Lutz the way I did? Don't friends ask about each other's perspectives? She claimed to be neutral, but her reaction already suggested she had taken Lutz's side. When the conversation escalated, my friend Sonia, a neutral witness from the Lutz incident, tried to mediate. Wendy told her, "Go away, you're not even one of us. You don't belong to our group." Wendy's rejection of Sonia, who was just trying to help, is quite troubling. Wendy isolated her and showed controlling behavior. Wendy did this again later to Sonia in Sorge at our German gathering, at the debate there. Sonia, who isn't Christian but was interested in learning, was shocked and later said Wendy's comment turned her off from our faith. Wendy's dismissive behavior pushed Sonia away and showed that Wendy didn't respect someone trying to help. It's hard to see that as anything other than divisive. Sonia is calm, kind, and thoughtful, and her input could have ended the argument here and then. Why offend her and not listen to what she had to say? Eric refers to this as a loving rebuke of a sister in their emails. They only heard one side, the side of their donor who funded most of their Europe trip last year. They also seem to have forgotten our detailed discussion before the trip about Lutz's abusive behavior toward our group in 2023. I agree that being neutral is fine, absolutely. But if someone refuses to listen to both sides and consider all the facts, they lose the right to judge, advise, or to force others to do anything, right? Proverbs 18:13 says, spouting off before listening to the facts is both shameful and foolish. Either listen to both sides or stay out of it completely. I reminded Eric and Wendy that they had been misled by Lutz, who falsely claimed I was a Trinitarian and a flat earther, causing them to distance themselves from me last year. They never asked me if it was true, just believed the slander. Wendy later admitted feeling ashamed about this, thought though I had forgiven them, it was still hurtful at that time, as I just sensed something was off at that stage. They justified their actions by saying it was fine to reject flat earth supporters' views on other topics too, since they lacked clear judgment. That was their opinion and they were entitled to have one, full stop. I disagreed, saying this wasn't just an opinion, but judgment or even condemnation. I raised this because a brother at our gathering was a flat earth supporter, and I thought Eric and Wendy's judgmental attitude could cause issues. I questioned whether their attitude aligned with Christian principles. Later, Wendy told me, "Don't be so sad." She said she had just given me some sisterly advice to get me back on the right track. That's what you do between friends, don't you? However, if she had known that I would be so sensitive and that my ego would be hurt so quickly, she wouldn't have done it. She would have assumed that I could take such a strong speech. It felt like more guilt tripping. Apparently, my ego was hurt because I was voicing a different opinion and not meeting her expectations. I felt invalidated, gaslit, as my reaction now was the problem, not her actions before any longer. Before their trip to Europe, Wendy had said that if Lutz ever apologized, it would be up to me whether I accepted it. She wouldn't get involved and would understand if I said no. I hadn't said no. I just wanted more clarity. So why did she suddenly start this dispute? I still don't understand. Things kept getting worse. Wendy said again, if you're like that, I can no longer share spiritual things with you because the Holy Spirit can't flow between us. This reminds me of the soft shunning of the witnesses. Wendy is using spiritual authority to manipulate my emotions, pressuring me to agree by suggesting my spiritual connection will be at risk if I don't agree with her point of view. She basically telling me to ignore my negative feelings, which she triggered, and just move on agreeing to her point of view. If Wendy is quoting Jesus on Judas, when did Jesus ever say, I'm so disappointed in you and can't share spiritual things with you anymore? Jesus didn't reject or blame people who were hurting. He didn't reproach the disciples for abandoning him or for Peter's denial. That's not how Jesus behaved. At our Swiss gathering, Wendy and I exchanged small talk, but it felt distant on both sides, lacking the connection we once had. I couldn't just move on as if nothing had happened. For my trauma therapy, I recognized that Wendy's behavior on the first day was deeply troubling and raised many red flags. I felt emotionally and spiritually abused, especially when she said, if you behave like this, you are no longer a child of God. This is the worst you can say to a believer. It felt like talking to a wall, not a close friend, and that cut deeply. Over the past 3 years, I had sacrificed a lot for our group, and Wendy knew this. I felt devalued by her unloving behavior. Yes, she told me she loved me every day, but her actions didn't match her words. When she blamed me for not saying it back, I just couldn't. Her words felt empty and fake, especially since she said them so frequently to everyone. Yeah, please.
Oh, I'm just following along. I keep forgetting to breathe because I'm absorbing all of this, and it's just shocking.
Yeah.
It's just shocking. So basically, what I'm reading here is Wendy using the scriptural moral high ground to guilt trip you, control you, gaslight you, coerce you, and then she's disguising that by saying she's just being a loving sister trying to get you back on track.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you'd broken a boundary, you know, where she said, "You're breaking my boundary. I don't want you to do that." It was nothing of the sort. It was her telling you basically how to behave and using scriptures to reinforce that when
Yeah.
it actually deflected from her own behavior. That's absolutely horrific. My heart goes out to you, Sabine, you poor lady. Wow. That's all I wanted to say at this point. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
And you see the dramatic speech in a moment here.
Okay.
Eric's speech, yeah. Eric writes in his email dated 20th of August. There can be no justification for Sabine sharing her resentment and bad feelings towards Wendy with a group like Sharon, who had no reason to know the details. Sabine broke open the pillowcase and allowed all the feathers of dissent, slander, and division to blow everywhere. Ay, ay, ay. I want to address this to Eric. Eric, since when is telling the truth considered slander? Who caused the division by attacking me as the organizer and host in front of the group? How would you and Wendy have felt if I had publicly attacked you in your Zoom meetings like that? Why shouldn't the group know the facts when Wendy had already involved them anyway, even if she later claimed it was unintentional? It happened, you know. This feels like victim blaming, silencing the victim to protect the perpetrator. Would Eric speak this way about child abuse? Would he tell a child to stay silent and not confide in anyone? Why is it acceptable for him then to silence an adult this way? Wendy confronted me publicly with witnesses around, and we are a close-knit group, as I said before, and we are supporting each other at tough times. So those who witnessed the argument were concerned for me and couldn't pretend nothing happened. When asked how I felt, I was honest. I was profoundly sad. I didn't even say much more, I have to say, because I was heartbroken and speechless. Yes,
I was
please.
just going to say, how could you when you were heartbroken? I mean,
Yeah,
all you can think about is the pain that you're in.
yeah,
Really,
exactly.
you know, after they just demolished you, her in
Yeah,
particular, Wendy, and then they expect you to be, okay, I'm fine, let's carry.
yeah,
No, I'm sorry. No, sorry. Go ahead, Sabine.
yeah. Wendy and Eric accused me of being angry, but I wasn't. I was heartbroken. For them, any disagreement or resistance feels like anger or slander. They are not used to assertiveness, even I wasn't even assertive there at that moment, or directness. They want compliant followers. Sound familiar from the witnesses? By mislabeling my reaction, they shift the narrative to make me seem unreasonable. They turn the focus away from Wendy's behavior, which caused my hurt, and label instead my natural emotional response as anger. That's what my psychologist taught me. I wasn't angry. I have to say, again, I just was heartbroken, though anger would have been understandable in this situation, as a boundary was crossed. And as the Canadian physician Gabo Mate says, and I like listening to his videos from time to time, anger is a response when boundaries are crossed, and also part of the mourning process. And I was already mourning our friendship here, you know. When he crossed the line and it needed to be addressed for things to return from back to normal, abuse is often a pattern, and that's not a healthy foundation for a friendship. I started to feel that a healthy friendship with Wendy was unlikely which saddened me. I still hoped for reconciliation, but Wendy had to admit, obviously, her wrongdoing, which she refused to do. I really was heartbroken. I mean, people have seen that, you know, others have understood that, you know. So, yeah.
The very first time I met you, I didn't know you from a bar of soap, basically. But when I first saw your countenance, in my head, I'm thinking, how am I going to pick this lady up? Because you were figuratively on the floor.
Yeah.
Even I knew that, and I had never met you. And I was so heartbroken for you, just looking at you, your countenance. I just wanted to give you a big, big hug, you know,
Oh,
and you just, sorry, I mean, the interview takes as long as it takes, you know, this needs to be talked about. You talked about boundaries being crossed, and this is really important, Sabine, because that's happened to me recently. Somebody crossed my boundaries by insisting that she behaved in a certain way on my behalf. And you put your foot down and say no, and you become angry or distressed as a reaction, then they turn it around on you
yeah.
for being angry when
Yeah.
they overlook their behavior and crossing boundaries. You know, it's textbook narcissist as far as I'm concerned. You know, this is what I'm seeing here, that you're having to deal with this, not just on one occasion, but many occasions. It wasn't just a one-off thing where she'd be like mortified. Please, what can I do to fix this? It was out of character for me, for example. No, no.
Was actually, it was expected from me to even go and say, I'm so sorry for allowing you to have abused me. Perhaps, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
You
you
just
know,
couldn't function. You just couldn't function. All
a
you could
hug
think
would
about was
have
the book.
done a real honest conversation between the two of us, actually from heart to heart, would have reconciled everything, you know, just from
Yeah.
heart to heart, saying, I'm so sorry. I know now I have overstepped the mark. I shouldn't have done that, you know, but that never
Mm.
happened.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No.
yeah. And someone actually realized that I was very, very, very sad from their professional point of view. And they offered me trauma therapy. And
Yes.
I have nothing to hide, so I will share this at this stage here as well.
Please do.
I
As long as
initially,
you feel, as long as you feel
yes,
comfortable,
okay.
Sabine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
I said no in the beginning because I wanted to actually avoid to expose Wendy. Didn't want to drag her into that. But they insisted and said that's their job anyway to separate things, you know. And they
Yeah.
agreed. And so we had a 2-hour session, which I was very, very grateful
Mm.
for, which helped me right away, as at least a bit, you know.
Yes.
Just want to mention that Thursday evening after the concert and Lord's Supper at Margaret's care home, I made one last attempt to reconcile with Wendy in the kitchen of our rented house. I approached her lovingly, smiling, and offered a hug, asking if we could put everything behind us. So I did make that effort. She continued discussing her interpretation of Judas Iscariot foot washing scene and refused to listen to me, to my perspective. She said, we are not getting anywhere. You just don't want to understand. I'll never be able to open my heart to you again. And walked away, you know. It was obviously her way or nothing when she says, you just don't want to understand. It dismisses my feelings and makes it seem like I'm the one at fault for not agreeing with her point of view. Again, you know. And this is at least how my psychologist explained it to me.
Yes. It's actually called crazy making behavior. Okay. So crazy making behavior actually gets the person, i.e. you, to start thinking that maybe you're the one that's in the wrong, maybe you're the one that's going crazy. It is gaslighting. Crazy making behavior is gaslighting. This is what's happening right here. Thank you. Sorry, Sabine.
Yeah, now Wendy says or claims, I always want things my way, but she never listened to me. She refused to meet me halfway and interfered in my decision with Lutz imposing her opinion on me, And this is also a projection of this. She projects her feelings and expectations onto me now. And I find it alarming and actually scary how quickly she wrote me off spiritually and also as her friend when I disagreed with her, And what I can't understand, she had promised not to get involved. And she even said to me, I accept any decision, and it's your decision no matter what. So why did she start this fight? I'm thinking of what was the motive behind this? Was there a motive I don't get, or what was the real issue? Yeah, please.
I just, I'm just thinking on. So can I just ask you a personal question, Sabine? You don't have to answer it.
Yeah.
Has there been other situations where Wendy may have behaved in a similar manner, but you've unknowingly acquiesced to her demands? I.e., have you unknowingly, when she said, "You'll never see my point of view," has there ever been situations? It's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer it, but has there ever been situations where?
How can I say she was for me with scriptures because she saw them beautifully. I have to say she was sometimes like a authority in a way. I expected her point of view, and it felt and it actually, how can I say, I felt I actually I agreed with her because I felt that was the right way to see things. There was one issue, one message, but she said, "Oh, I sound so." How did she say? I sound in a way I don't like it. Can you please delete it? Because she noticed herself. She was self-aware. In our friendship, she was self-aware when she was doing things, just saying, "I'm sorry," or. So not in that way. That was the first time. I think this is why it really, really just took me by surprise as well. If you had situations like this before all the time, I wouldn't have been surprised with one more.
Right.
With it in a different way, but we were very close, and we never had any clashes in that. No. So yeah, please.
So thank you. So thank you for that. So basically, my understanding of what you're saying now is there was never a time where Wendy would speak and say things to you like, "You don't want to understand me, and I'll never be able to open my heart to you again." She never ever said that.
Never ever.
So this was a massive point of difference, a massive schism, really, in terms of your friendship. Something had changed.
Yeah.
Something had changed, and you can't really, to this day, put your finger on it, can you? It was just.
No. I don't know what. Perhaps their plans had changed. People were telling you probably have been. They say that, but that's obviously just an assumption. But I have been told, perhaps you were out of the picture for the further travels, because perhaps Lutz filled their pockets and they didn't need you anymore. I don't know what it was. I would say that because we obviously both had looked very much forward to it, to spend the summer together. I mean, it was 4 to 6 weeks, depending on our travels. We had we were thinking even after coming back from Jersey to go to do further travel. So I don't know. I really can't tell. I don't know. So
okay.
I don't know. Someone told me there was some situation I have to put in. A sister said, she had written you off already in the Netherlands. She told them. because I had tooth issue and I was concerned about the treatment, and I wanted to use holistic means to basically treat it. And so they were basically, it was about this. Apparently, I don't know, it's a lot of question marks.
Well,
But I
a best
mean,
friend.
Wendy is usually into natural
Yeah.
remedies as well. So I don't know.
But
I really don't.
but a supposedly best friend doesn't write somebody off because they choose a different way of managing their pain. You know, it just, I mean, this is just bizarre behavior. And you know, I mean, I've got my own viewpoint on certain things, but I'll probably bring it out later if I can. My own kind of like take on all of this. But yeah, look, I mean, please continue, my friend, because this is important. Okay.
Yeah, then was obviously the trust issue as well, because I saw that she didn't trust me. And I always say, what is a friendship without trust? What is any relationship without trust?
You don't have trust, that's it.
Yeah. And Eric said something really weird. He said, I expected from Wendy to trust me in a way she should only trust our father. This kind of trust between human beings shouldn't be even taking place. And I was just thinking, was he so disappointed, or was his trust got his trust did it get hurt so much that he wasn't able to give people the benefit of the doubt and trust them? I don't know, because I feel it's normal to give people the benefit of the doubt and trust them until they actually show you can't trust them anymore, And I come up in a moment with something which actually has shaken up my trust now, I have to say. Yeah, so I had hoped, obviously, that she would trust me about the facts about what happened to Lutz, that it wasn't a personal thing, that it was a group thing, what he did, his behavior, I mean, there are witnesses for it, as you will see later. So I never lied to her, and always believed what she shared with me too. And she shared with me also deep things, personal things. And so I trusted her on this as well, would have never thought she's telling me a lie or so, But I have to say, now I'm not so sure anymore, especially after learning I was deceived in something really important to me. Wendy had taught me that she had gotten the so-called pandemic treatment, you know what I mean? But I've now been told she had actually several of them, and it yeah, it hurts deeply to be lied to like this, I wouldn't have loved her any less if she had been honest, especially since I never go around ask people about if they have been, I would have never asked her. She just told me of her own accord. So why does she tell someone one story and someone else a different story, depending obviously of the circumstances of the people and how they look at things, So this really hurt me as well, because I would have loved her anyway, not less for being just truthful to me, As for the Swiss gathering, I wish Wendy hadn't jumped to conclusions, obviously, about me. I would have preferred, as already said, a private, loving conversation instead of being spoken to like that in front of the group or even alone. I wouldn't have loved being talked to like this on my own either. Real friends ask questions, they show empathy and respect each other's perspectives. At least that's my view on friendship, I think obviously that Wendy is hurt and feels rejected because she tried to mediate between Lutz and me, which is why she is disappointed now with me. I didn't match her expectations with my actions, or But the issue with Lutz is in the past, and many in the group don't even know that story. There was no need to bring it up and risk what we have now. We had actually agreed not to mix things, not to bring this to our group. We had agreed on this. So no, I'm not to blame here. Yeah.
I just wanted to pick up on something at this stage. This is something that I haven't brought up before. That's something that's been going around in my head. I may be completely wrong. Just going back to the incident where Wendy absolutely laid into you in front of everybody, and dear Sonia tried to intercede and mediate. I just want to ask you something. How long have you been friends or known Sonia for?
I can tell you.
You know
Since
what I'm going to ask, don't you?
26 years.
26 years. Okay.
She is
Wow.
sister. She is
Yeah.
family.
Okay. How long, has Wendy known her ever since you have been friends with Sonia?
Since last May, she got to know her. We had
Interesting. Yeah, here's, I'm just going to say it, just based on observation. I may be completely wrong, but I think the thing with Lutz, I mean, I've got my own impressions there, because he is quite wealthy, and we've touched on that in the previous interview. But I think that this behaviour from Wendy may be twofold as well. I think that Wendy, there may be jealousy there. I may be wrong. I'm not accusing her. I think there may be jealousy there around Sonia being friends too. And the thing is, I mean, it happens. I've seen it in adults. I've seen adult people behave like this and this. They get precious about who their friends are and so forth. It's just an observation. I might be completely wrong, but I think it's a two-pronged thing with the Lutz situation. And then Wendy actually speaking to Sonia in the most demeaning and derogatory way by telling her to get away. You are not one of us. The whole ethos of BEROEAN Pickets prides themselves on bringing newly interested or new people to Christ. And as you mentioned further on in your at the beginning, at the outset, Sonia has been forever turned off becoming a Christian because of Wendy's behaviour and the way she treated her.
Wendy knew how much it meant to me that Sonia was coming with us to actually get to know the whole bunch, to learn a little bit more. She had started seeing the chosen videos as well. So she started opening up,
Do you think that might be a fair comment that I made there, Sabine? Do you think that might be a fair comment looking
I
retrospectively? You don't know.
It's all fair. I mean, I don't have any kind of, I can't get my head around it, what was happening. I can't get my head around it. But perhaps it's also, I mean, it's a trauma response. Obviously, it could have been a trauma. I feel she is suffering from complex PTSD, Wendy, and so she got a lot of hurt. Obviously, she experienced a lot of hurt in her childhood and later on. And so it might have just been, snapping might just be something that she might not be able to regulate her emotions at certain parts. I don't know. I really don't know.
Look, it's just I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not casting aspersions. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying that this is fact.
I would love to understand, really, because I mean,
I just find it bizarre that she spoke to a non-believer in that manner, and that she should have stood there and listened to somebody like Sonia and calmed down, but instead she turned on her. And obviously the last person that Wendy would think would hear about this is me. Like you said in your other interview, we've all found each other, and these things have a habit these things have a habit of being exposed. And so I'm just looking at all the bases, covering all the bases here. So I may have got it completely wrong, but my gut instinct says that there maybe have been a little bit of jealousy as well. That's all I'm saying.
It must have shown you obviously that I'm a stable person, because having a friend for such a long time, it's not my only friend I have for such a long time. I have other friends that know me also for over 20 years, and one I have since my 16th birthday, you know, an ex JW as well. So yeah, so it shows that I'm stable actually on that, in that kind of and it should actually encourage to start having a friendship with me, because I'm not running around hurting my friends, you know. Otherwise I wouldn't have any.
Wouldn't have any, exactly. No, it's nice to have long friendships. My best friend is 45 years. 45 years, back in the UK. So I know exactly what it means to have really, really good friends, even though there might only be 2 or 3, you know. But no, sorry, Sabine, continue, my friend, continue.
Where were we? Let me see.
So Wendy stormed into the
I said exactly. It was now on the morning of our last day. On our last day in Switzerland. Sharon, Sharon, it's also Latin name, so there's not Sharon, Sharon. I noticed I was sad. I told her my friendship with Wendy was crumbling, and I felt heartbroken. I didn't say much more, you know. Sharon likely spoke to Wendy after that, wanting to help. They are both so sweet people, Sharon and her husband, you know. Wendy stormed into the kitchen while I was still on the phone with Suzanne, and Suzanne overheard obviously the whole conversation, because we were talking about something else. And Wendy yelled at me, "You told Sharon our friendship is over. Are you ending it now?" I calmly replied, "No, you did that last night when you said you could never open your heart to me again." Wendy denied, saying, "I never said that." I said, "Please don't lie, Wendy. That's exactly what you said, and it really hurt me." She responded, "I didn't mean it like that." And I replied, "Then just say what you really mean." Wendy then accused me, "You are betraying our friendship by spreading gossip about me." I clarified, "I just told Sharon I'm sad because our friendship is falling apart. That's not gossip, it's the truth, you know." Wendy keeps blaming me for things, saying I spread gossip and I wasn't humble, to deflect from her own actions, obviously. This tactic shifts the focus away from her and makes me the one to blame. This is another example of gaslighting, where the reality of my experience is questioned and my actions are labeled as betrayal or wrongdoing. Eric and Wendy then changed their plans and no longer wanted to ride in my car with me to Sorge. Eric initially said he needed to stay overnight in Frankfurt because the 850-kilometer drive would be too stressful for him. He had removed the buffer day I'd planned, anticipating the drive I had planned actually up front, because I already anticipated that the drive might be too much for I live. But then Eric asked Tim if they could go with him instead. I felt dumped. We had agreed to travel together, but suddenly I was expected to drive from Speyer to Zorge alone. Sonja was concerned and decided to join, and Suzanne left her car at our house to car share with us, though it wasn't planned like that, you know, originally. You know, Sonja didn't want to come to Sorge, you know, it wasn't planned.
And just to chip in, correct me if I'm wrong, was this at the point as well where you were in agony with your teeth? You'd been
it was getting better. It was almost gone. But that was obviously, there was the aftermath of this still in the beginning of Switzerland, obviously, you know. 3 molars taken out. It was an operation that was over 2 hours long, and emergency.
Wow.
Basically, the night before we went to Netherlands, so there was already time, obviously, in between. It was healing, and but it had also obviously taken a toll on me. I wasn't 100% yet in Switzerland either. So anyway.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
what a sacrifice, only to be dumped. That is, you must have felt absolutely terrible, Sabine. I can only imagine the advantage that you felt you've been taken of, taken advantage of you, willing to drive Eric and Wendy around in your car, up and down Europe, this is just, entitlement on another level. I'm sorry, but that's just what I have to say. So good job that Sonia and Suzanne were there to help you. 850 Ks. I don't know what that is in miles, but that is a lot.
It's about 600, I guess. Is it?
Oh, you are absolutely kidding me. That's nearly the full distance between John O'Groats in England and Land's End. From one end of England from one end of Scotland to the other. That's nearly, save 100 miles. That's insane. Oh my goodness. I would have been fuming. I would have been absolutely fuming.
And it
Wow.
was just also because I'm going now into Lutz a little bit more in detail,
Yes.
because it was basically all this trauma, all this suffering came back as well, and now I was losing actually my best friend over it, so again, and yeah, so I didn't even know where to start, feeling sad
Yeah.
about it was loads of different things coming together stage. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So I think
okay.
it's now time to go a little bit more in depth into
Yes. Yes. Maybe we can do
what happened to
maybe
our
we could do, what happened to your group because of Lutz and Heidel.
yeah,
Who's Heidel's? Is that his wife?
his wife.
Okay. All right. Go
Yeah.
ahead, my friend. Yeah.
I wish I wouldn't have to do that, I have to say, but Eric nowadays claims in true textbook gaslighting fashion that I made all these issues just up in my head and
Right.
incited others against Lutz. Let's just talk about the facts first.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Yeah.
my friend.
These are
Okay.
obviously serious allegations, so I have no choice but to explain things in more depth here. I realize this is a projection, given Eric has lied, manipulated, and bullied us on other occasions as well. As I mentioned in my first interview, Eric has brought up Lutz anyway in his slander video, so let's talk about it. He put the so-called alleged apology under his video. So Lutz claimed that Stefan wasn't in our group yet last summer is false. Stefan addressed this to Eric and also in his video, I think. And there's even proof of a Zoom photo showing us all together in the same meeting. The meeting wasn't that large, obviously, for Lutz to have overlooked Stefan. And Stefan was hosting already back then from time to time. And they were also together in another small Bible group, so they knew each other, Yeah. Eric's claim that Lutz doesn't remember doing anything wrong doesn't hold up either. The real issue was Lutz's lack of insight into his ongoing passive-aggressive, narcissistic style type of behavior, not recognizing that he has behaved in this way doesn't make it go away. Eric ignores all the eyewitnesses and the fact that it is not a personal conflict between Lutz and me, but rather about Lutz's inappropriate behavior in Zooms and chat groups. I hesitated to address the issue fully, I have to say, in the beginning to avoid disturbing Eric's and Wendy's friendship with Lutz. I dropped hints, hoping for support, as that was last autumn, especially when my co-host Stefan took a long break then in Colombia last autumn, winter. When Wendy and I became close friends, I felt I could finally share everything with her. It was such a relief. We were very close and often sought each other's advice on group matters. She suggested later shutting down our WhatsApp group when tensions arose again. Eventually, I confided in her in spring this year about Lutz and Heidelise. I would like to remind Eric and Wendy that they knew the story in detail. Eric even agreed with me at the time, appalled by Lutz's behavior. We had a thorough phone conversation, I think, of 3/4 of an hour. And I gave verifiable examples. He even considered not visiting them, but a week later, their travel plans resumed as if nothing had happened. Wendy had made a comment about whether Lutz still had money, which I now see obviously as a red flag. It seems their visit was influenced by Lutz's financial support, although Eric has stressed the importance of helping a brother and bringing him back on the right track. Wendy repeatedly said that visiting Lutz and Heidelise felt like a betrayal of our friendship. She mentioned that Eric wanted her to go, but she tried to find an excuse not to. I reassured her that she had nothing to fear from them. Wendy also said Lutz had betrayed her trust at one point, but she didn't give any details. When Lutz and Heidelise didn't respond to her message, she asked me how I would handle this. So there was a long break of several days or weeks where they didn't hear back from them. I encouraged her to address it openly with them, as they might just be busy. I always tried to be positive and not get in between their plans to see them. I had faith that our friendship was strong enough to withstand challenges. Before the trip, Wendy even suggested that Lutz might apologize to me, leaving it up to me whether to accept. I mentioned that a few times before. I was shocked when she snapped at me, obviously, at our Swiss gathering. It caught me completely off guard. It's difficult when a close friendship takes a turn like this, especially when you thought you were both at the same page. I had offered Eric and Wendy to send them all the evidence, group chat history, witnesses, etc. But they insisted they didn't need it, saying they believed me. They didn't have time to look into it deeply. Now they are accusing me of not having sent it. In Switzerland, I tried to explain to Wendy that there was no contradiction between Lutz's behavior towards them in a small gathering and his behavior towards our group. Obviously, group dynamics kicked in. There were plenty of witnesses to his actions. Lutz and Heidelise had been in our group for over a year, attending meetings regularly, most of the time twice a week. And as you know, we stay late at night, so for quite a few hours. Lutz often acted like a grumbler or know-it-all. He would nitpick and become aggressive or bully others when upset. And I don't know what kind of pattern that was. He was the sweetest guy one day, and then he was completely the opposite a couple of days later, just to let you know. Both Lutz and Heidelise seem to have a high tolerance threshold for conflict. They admitted that they argued a lot in their marriage. They were used to a completely different tone than most of our group. Others felt obviously hurt. If it just had been a one-off, we would have quickly moved past it with love. It's like a tree. No, you know what I want to say, that usually bears good fruit, but occasionally produces a bad one. We overlook that with love, right? That's what we would do. However, when it's a pattern of repeated aggressive behavior, it must be addressed. As stated, they were never excluded from our Bible Zooms, only from the chat groups for good reason. In April 2023, 4 of our brothers and sisters asked me to remove Lutz, Heidelise, and Petra from our Bible Zooms due to their repeated aggressive behavior. We had 3 meetings about it, but I ultimately felt it wasn't my decision to make. So the others left the group. Looking back, I realized that this was a mistake. We should have discussed it as a group, but the others, wanting them to be removed, didn't want to face more conflict or hurt. So actually I was in a catch-22. I couldn't bring them together at one table, you know. That was my issue I was facing. One of the sisters who left, a former friend, sent a voice message. Our friendship ended because I didn't remove them. I understand her disappointment and regret not making obviously the right decision at the time, while it felt right not to remove them because of our history as JWs. It was hard to reconcile. The 4 of them had a deep sense of belonging within our group, and this feeling of safety was suddenly obviously threatened because of this aggressive behavior. As I mentioned, our Zoom Bible readings meant the world to them. 3 of them were in the middle of their JW exit process. The sister, who was never a witness, expressed her feelings in the message, which I'd like to share now.
Yes, please.
It's quite telling, this message. She says, Sabine, my dear, I'll keep this brief. As you know, I'm a very honest person, and I have to be completely honest here. I'm shocked and also angry. I just can't believe what is happening. This is not the Christian way. Losing 4 loving people from the group is not the way things should have gone. I'm completely out. I'm not interested in hearing what the 3, Lutz, obviously, Heidelis, and Petra, have to say tonight. I'm angry that the kindest people are no longer in the group, and I see no need or interest in continuing. Of course, forgiveness is important, but how many times can we try? Eve was right when she said that where there is growth, the devil tries to cause division, and it seems he has succeeded. I actually see this separation as a positive thing. For me, it would be unbearable to stay in a group with these 3 people. You can say forgiveness is the Christian way, but this is not how things should be. I value you a lot, Sabine, but what is happening now is wrong. There is no justice in this. I have a strong sense of justice, and for me, that comes first. If something feels unjust, it hurts deeply, and I can't even explain all the emotions I'm feeling right now. All of this is thanks to these 3, and I don't want to have any further dealings with them. I don't trust them anymore. Why Lutz once cried over reading something, I don't know. But anyone who speaks like he does to others doesn't have good intentions. Thank you for letting me be part of the group. It was truly nice, and it's sad that things had to end like this. So that's what she said. And yeah. And then there was actually even Lutz's wife speaking up around the time of Hans-Jürgen's memorial last year in summer. She warned me that Lutz was getting into an argument with a sister and things could get out of hand. She said if he lashed out, it would cause lasting damage. No grass would grow there later anymore. They're her words. She said, you don't want to see Lutz like this. He always scares me when he is like this. She asked me to moderate a Zoom meeting to keep things peaceful, so to mediate between them, so to speak. And I agreed, but it never came to pass. I would like to emphasize that I obviously had no personal fault with Lutz, despite being shaken up by his behavior towards our group. Lutz was often argumentative for no reason and would shut down discussions about JW trauma, claiming at that stage our shed wasn't the place for it and that Jesus never addressed trauma. He dismissed the idea of trauma, saying he survived his difficult childhood without being traumatized and others should just move on and not be so sensitive. One example, Lutz attacked a sister who posted a photo about German sausages with a text saying, I post Wiener sausages, everyone can add now their mustard. Yeah. Which means everyone can add their 2 cents. It was just a distractor, you know. She just wanted to de-escalate. There was a situation and she just wanted to make a joke, basically, you know. But Lutz obviously got triggered and responded harshly, saying he never thought he would say something like that ever to someone, because he hated it when his mother used to say it to him. He then added, Lutz, you can be anything but ordinary. And he told her, now I say that to you. He mentioned later that he was referring to her lack of manners and upbringing. It's quite something, quite offensive, obviously. The sister was deeply hurt and left the group, not attending our Zooms for a long time. A whole lot also left the chat as well. Later, Lutz sent me a pamphlet with screenshots of posts from our WhatsApp group. He commented on them and tried to justify his behavior. I found it pretty disturbing, I have to say. I asked him why he hadn't just called me to discuss things instead of creating such a long pamphlet, putting so much work into it. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, again, when I was part of BEROEAN Pickets in Australia, I haven't divulged this, but very quickly, I left the group a couple of times because of bad behaviour, because of a lack of love, because there was a lack of empathy, and I'd not long left Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, I was only disassociated this year. So I was looking, you know, I still had cognitive dissonance, but I remember complaining to Eric and Wendy in an email about the behaviour in the Australian group and and Eric's words, and I quote, this is what he said. He said, if anybody's running one of our groups, he said, the Holy Spirit will work through the person who is genuine and get rid of the troublemaker. That's what Eric said to me.
Yeah, I remember.
Right?
Yeah, and they changed their tune later, and they said, "Oh, we thought that," and because I addressed that with Wendy at some stage, and I said, "So we let all the mild and soft-hearted people go because they can't take the abuse, and we have obviously we have loads of heavily, and this is it's obviously perhaps a subject for a different video. We have loads of troubled souls and traumatized people in the ex-JW community because they have endured so much trauma." And yeah, please.
So what I'm saying is, where Lutz is concerned, all right, you had the unpleasant task of having to, you know, get him to leave the chat group, not the Zoom group. At the end of the day, Eric should have backed you based on his own thought process.
Yeah,
you know, it's the decent ones that actually, it's the bad ones that leave, and the decent, do you know what I mean? And then he changes tune again. You know, it's the good ones that leave. It's the good ones that leave and the bad ones that stay. So very disordered in his thinking. I remember it distinctly. But anyway, that was my experience when I complained about the Australian group. But yes, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to mention, Lutz also sent me another email besides sending me this pamphlet. And he just said the sister, the one with the Wiener sausages photo, had admittedly offered herself a little. That's what he said. As I said, it was never about her, especially as I don't even know her. So what should I have against her? He attacked her anyway and made her leave the group, you know. So why would he start something? This is exactly showing that kind of behavior. You know, he didn't know people, but this is what he did at times, you know. And obviously, yeah, they had to face themselves once in the next Zoom, and then this sister wouldn't come for a long time. She's now back. That's nice, you know, we have a close relationship with her, lovely sister. So Lutz also caused problems in the chat, obviously, and attacked our elderly sister, Margaret, so badly that she became very stressed. in a private message, you know. Soon after, she had a stroke and is still recovering. He also twisted the facts in his message to her about the April 2023 argument, when the 4 brothers and sisters wanted him and the 2 others removed. He put it on the head, you know, why we wouldn't have actually done what they wanted us to do. They must be very disappointed. It was just weird how he argumented, you know. Anyway, in September 2023, when the arguments continued on the day a sister's husband's life support was being switched off, I just removed the quarrelers from our chat group, you know. I felt, you know, I told them, why not actually putting loads of lovely posts up to support our sister instead of actually fighting like this, you know. So I couldn't understand, so I just removed them. Many in our group expressed their relief about it. As I said, I didn't remove them from the Bible reading group, although they stopped attending afterwards because their pride obviously got hurt. All of this really shook me up. I bring this up because Eric is presenting the situation in a completely misleading way now, as if it were a personal issue between Lutz and me, which it wasn't. That's a lie, actually. I wrestled with this group issue for a long time, hoping that things would improve. As I mentioned, Lutz and Heidelise were never removed from the Bible Zooms. Eric and Wendy, on the other hand, are now swiftly removing anyone who disagrees with them or addresses their hurtful behavior. They label even minor criticism as an attack or character assassination. They can't handle criticism, but are quick to dish it out, responding harshly and punishing those who speak up. By calling truth tellers slanderers and now even murderers. They create a toxic environment that shuts down honest communication. It seems they care more about protecting their images than reflecting on their actions. Their failure to live by their own values of forgiveness and love shows a lack of emotional maturity and integrity. These are signs that the group is turning more and more into a high control group. And this is quite troublesome, I feel. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and I think just commenting on what you've just said there, I've had so many people, Sabine, message me, you know, to say that they're unsubscribing to BEROEAN Pickets, and they can look at these interviews. Everybody can make their own mind up, but the common thread going through all of it is that Eric started off, I would say, with really good intentions. Certainly when I first came on board and started listening to him, I thought, wow, this is great, you know. And nobody, I keep saying this sporadically, that nobody is disputing his ability to shred Watchtower Doctrine in half. Nobody's taking that away from him. But it's all downhill after that, Sabine.
Yeah.
It's all downhill after that. It's like the switch. Right, you're
Yeah.
in now. You know, everybody gets re-traumatized again, and they don't even know it until they start putting 2 and 2 together. And I think it's a really cruel thing, actually, because everybody's so traumatized leaving Jehovah's Witnesses. I think it has to be said, you know, people are so vulnerable. They're really smashed up, you know, and you know, they're going to look at these interviews like horror stories, because that's exactly what they are. And I'm saying this right now, Sabine, on record. If these interviews save one person from ending up not being here anymore, we've already lost one. We've accomplished what we set out to do.
And also, if they the second time around don't lose their faith, you know, because this can happen as well, you know, that they are just fed up and say no.
No.
I've heard that quite often now.
Oh,
Now, if this is
really?
about, yeah, if this is about Christian faith, then I'm rather an atheist. And people are saying that they're doing good deeds, you know, because I don't feel there is something very toxic about the Christian community. You hear this? Mhm. So,
I agree.
and we have a very a group in Germany which is growing by the day of ex-JWs, and most of them have lost their faith, you know, coming
Mm.
out of, and I think it's over 90% which are leaving JW. They for a while, you know, it might just be something they have to come out again at the other end, you know, it's part of the whole kind of mourning process, you know. And then they put the pieces back together of their faith, you know. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
continue with this part at least. I think, can we
Yeah.
have the
I
because
think we
that's,
can do, I think we can go one more. Yeah.
yeah, one
Yeah.
more, because that is obviously what Lutz has. I had it in my, by the way, I want to say I had it in my script anyway. I
Yeah.
want to let Eric know, so there was no need to put it on your website because I'm reading it out loud now. It's funny enough because I'm thorough and I want to actually give both sides of the story
Of
here.
course. Of course.
And so on the 11th of August, 2 days before our Swiss gathering with Eric and Wendy, I received an unexpected text from Lutz in the evening, which he had recently also posted in the comment section under your first two videos. The thesis paper, you remember, Karen?
I do. I do remember.
I mean, whoever deleted it, if YouTube or you did him actually a favor, I have to say, because I found that quite manipulative. He actually
Actually, can I just say something?
yeah.
I forgot. I don't know. I can't remember if I mentioned it on interview part one. I
Mm.
removed that. I removed that comment. You know why? Because I don't know Lutz from a bar of soap, but I found it most patronizing, and I
Yeah.
found it was, you know, being very insincere. And you know, I thought to myself, this is going to create a barrage of negative comments. I'm not even going to take that chance. I just removed it because I could not see 1 ounce of sympathy or empathy in there. And yet Eric Wilson made this big hoo-ha on the slander video that he did by pinning Lutz's response and your response to him, making it look like you didn't have a heart or a soul, you weren't forgiving, which is absolutely codswallop. I'm sorry, but it is. It's a load of rubbish.
Twist
Just
the facts again, obviously. Mm.
twisting the facts. So
Mm.
yeah. So yes, everybody, I removed Lutz's
You should have left it up there.
comments.
He would have nailed himself. Sorry to say that, but that's how I look at it. It's
Yeah.
actually you
Okay.
did him a favor to remove it. You did him a favor, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Continue, my friend.
yeah. Uh, so let's see. I start reading out. It starts with a line. His salutation is always, he just did it when he actually had some issues with me, I have to say. Otherwise, he would have just say, "Hi, Biene," you know. So this is a quite formal greeting. You have to know, and I obviously can read it that way because I knew it from former experience, you know. So I want to add that, you know, it was not his normal way of speaking to me. Yeah. So, dear Sabine, sister in faith in our dear Shepherd Jesus Christ, today I'm sending you this message, and I think it's really time to finally do so. But before I continue, I want to preface something. Wendy and Eric have been visiting us in the past few days, and we have been having a wonderful time together. Tomorrow is the time for them to leave. At 8:30 a.m., you are supposed to pick them up here, with the first stop being Zurich Airport. We would like to invite you for a small breakfast together if you can make it. It would make us very happy if you could. So if you could be here at 7 a.m., we would really appreciate it. You know, Sabine, I think what is written in James 4, verse 10 is good for the three of us. It says, humble yourselves before the Lord and he will lift you up. How touching and heartfelt. You know, often when I'm reminded of a mistake I have made, there is a lot that tears. Our Lord will lift us up. That is a promise, and we have all experienced it many times. I, or should I say we, are then very happy and moved. To be thorough in thought, I hope so. I would like to add something else, Biene. You know, when I look back on life, there have been many experiences that have shaped me, both good and not so good. I'm probably not alone on this. Where exactly on this path one has suffered wounds, who can say? Others only feel the results, where you have known each other for a long time or just recently. I don't want to go on too long, dear Biene. I've certainly made mistakes and I still do. If others are affected by them, I'm sorry and I apologize. And I would like to do so. Also for the mistakes I have made with you, Biene. I'm aware of that. Just one more small note, Biene. I used to have no guide on the way home, except for my homesickness, a difficult path with a lot of darkness. Now I found Christ some time ago, and he leads us with light towards love and home. Let us meet in this spirit, dear Sabine, and do our best together. At least have the courage to try. Enough of the rambling, Biene. Please just come by tomorrow at 7 a.m. We can't booze together. So he uses not the word for drink together or have a drink, you know.
He's put it out there, isn't he? We can booze together.
Booze together. It's saufen, and saufen means to have more, and it's boozing in English, basically. You know, he's using this other word, you know. This is why I'm actually addressing it. You know, there's nothing about one drink, you know, you can have one drink and survive, you know. So with love to our Lord Jesus, warm greetings from your sister Heidelis and your brother Lutz. So I'm posting now here, I'm reading out my answer. Hello Lutz, thank you for your message. First, 7 a.m. is too early and too short notice for me. I need to leave at 5 a.m. and I already got up at 5 a.m. this morning. Plus we were stuck in traffic on our way to Switzerland. Also, this meeting feels premature. There was no urgency, even though there was plenty of reason to live out Christian love. Susan informed you about Margaret's stroke. Love is not just words. Talking about love is different from living it. What exactly do you want to apologize for to our group and me? How will you handle these situations differently in the future? Only then can real change happen. Jesus says in Luke 17:3, and if he changes, forgive him. This is about much more than a superficial apology, though that might be the first step. As for the idea of drinking together, it's nice to socialize when everything is fine, but it can't replace a real conversation. Conversations should also take place on neutral ground. Best regards, Sabine. At our German gathering in Sorge, our group reviewed Lutz's apology and my response after our debate with Eric and Wendy. Everyone, all native speakers obviously, agreed that his apology was not real. It was more of a hint of a future apology and lacked details. They also agreed that my response was absolutely adequate given his past behavior. Lutz seems to make excuses for his past instead of taking responsibility. After leaving the group, he slandered us, and a host in another group had to intervene, informing us that he was banned from their chat group as well. In his post, in the comment section under your invitation video, to Wendy and Eric, Lutz demands forgiveness for himself. That was quite telling. When he asks, my question, Karen, which I now have for you, is the following. How would you react? That was the way how he speaks. So please don't laugh. Don't make me laugh. How would you react to this attempt to make peace? Aren't the children of God supposed to be peacemakers? God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called the children of God. Matthew 5:9. Lutz was never a peacemaker. That's the actual core issue here. His aggressive, at times even bullying behavior was a real issue. He seems to believe now he is entitled to forgiveness, but an apology should be unconditional. At least I look at this that way, you know. I would show true regret if I have done something I'm sorry for, you know, and I would commit to put things right, you know. And forgiveness is a gift given freely by the person who was hurt and cannot be demanded. For me, this wasn't about forgiveness at all, but about rebuilding trust with someone who had betrayed our trust many times. Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm sorry for making you laugh. It was just the fact that I admit I was very dismissive when I read his comments because I just thought he was being facetious, to be honest. I just feel, I don't know Lutz, I've never met the man, but I think just listening to you when you're saying one day he fluctuates in a good mood, the next day he fluctuates in a bad mood, and he's up and down, up and down, up and down. Obviously, the man needs some sort of mental health intervention. That's very, very evident to me. And he shouldn't expect, you know, everybody in the circle of friends to be an expert on why he reacts or responds like he does. You are not mind readers. You go on what you see. And like we've already established, if it was just a one-off thing where it's completely out of character for him based on a situation, then that's fair enough. But this is a pattern of behavior. And, you know, if he's genuinely sorry for, you know, losing his temper or being aggressive or causing, you know, disruption, then he should be willing to work on that. You know, whether that means getting therapy or do you know what I mean? Or actually acknowledging that he needs help. It's like I said, it's not a one-off thing. It's you know, everybody. I mean, I'll ask you, Sabine, have you ever lost your temper or become angry with somebody one-off? You know, that doesn't mean to say that. Yeah, you don't need to go into therapy for losing just on one occasion when it was completely out of character for you. But you know, when you see this person, sorry, that was a rhetorical question, but when you see when you see somebody like this day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, displaying these kinds of antisocial behaviors, because they are, that actually triggers people into anxiety, and they get to the stage where they're just not going to tolerate it. And so you did the right thing, as you know, getting rid of Lutz from the chat group. I'm going to say that right now because I wouldn't have tolerated it either. I think as well, forgiveness. We can all forgive. We can all forgive. But then when somebody behaves in a manner that you can't trust, like this is what the common theme has been tonight in our interview, actually, Sabine. That word trust has been paramount. And you are well within your rights not to trust anybody. Like all of us who have been burnt or lied to, we don't have to trust that person. We can forgive them. We can have agape love for them, which I'm sure you have with Lutz and his wife. But you do not have to be a doormat. Jesus Christ wasn't, and neither should you or I or anybody actually with a you know, a measure of standard. So you know, forgiveness is about, you know, the person gives it freely. It can't be demanded. I agree with that. But I think Lutz has burnt all his bridges with you guys. I think, you know, for you to, another thing that I just want to finish on when you forgive somebody, who's not genuinely sorry, you're actually giving them the green light to behave again like that. Okay, right.
That's
So
good. Do we want to go into this in the next interview a little
in
bit
the
more?
next, I was just going to say,
Yeah, because that is nice.
That's perfect. That's a
There's
perfect thing to
one
finish
thing
on.
though, because I've been asked, I'm just going forward now. I've been asked several times now, actually for a Bible reading in English, as a
Oh.
safety net or so, because people feel uncomfortable at the moment. So I've been told, so they feel uncomfortable where they are right now. And I would just want to just say a few words about this at the moment. So if you guys are interested in an English meeting, you can quickly obviously set one up if this is what some want, you know, we can find a time all together. And as I mentioned before, our goal is to create actually a space where we respect different perspectives. That's really, really important. Everyone should feel welcome and no one should be excluded or abused in any way, shape or form. This should never happen, you know. We aim to go in our German group, I can only say we aim to go beyond the JW black and white thinking. And as Stefan said, it was a bit challenging for him in the beginning as well. It's actually quite challenging when you actually navigate through your own cognitive dissonance, you know.
Yes.
And also learning that this actually exists, you know, and to accept and actually also differing opinions and let them actually coexist, you know, without judgment. So that is really important for us.
Would it be safe to say, if somebody wanted to do an English speaking group, could they contact you, or just for some ideas?
There is my email address, and we could do as we do the German Bible reading, we could do an English Bible reading. We do the Lord's Suppers as well, you know.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yes.
Exactly. And for us, I want to say, I just want to end with 1 Corinthians, and we have a lovely Bible text actually also in our
please.
thing, because it shows what our faith should all be about, you know, and this is actually what we focus on lately. We focus on living and growing in love to one another, practical sense, to grow more also in peace and in joy. Joy is a very important part as well. So I just want to read out 1 Corinthians 13.
Yes, please.
1, 2, 3, and verse 13. If I could speak all the languages of earth and of angels, but didn't love others, I would only be a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy, and if I understood all of God's secret plans and possessed all knowledge, and if I had such faith that I could move mountains but didn't love others, it would be nothing. I would be nothing. If I gave everything I have to the poor and even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love others, I would have gained nothing. 3 things will last forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of this is love. And this is obviously the sign of the true congregation of Christ. The body of Christ should be love, you know. So, and to help each other to grow in love, you know, that is really important. Sometimes we can lose ourselves perhaps in finding the true meanings of all sorts of scriptures, but we might actually lose sight of what is the most important focus: growing in love to one another, you know.
That's lovely. And I'm sorry, I have to apologize. I didn't open up, I didn't say a prayer. We usually say prayers before our interviews, don't we? So I was a bit remiss on that. So forgive me, my sister. I just want to say thank you so much again for giving your time, for coming on this channel, for exposing spiritual abuse. What I meant to say as well is that spiritual abuse isn't a mental illness, but religious trauma is fast becoming a component of mental illness based on spiritual abuse. That's what I meant to say earlier on. And it is so it is on the rise, and we just have to keep focused and bringing awareness to people. This isn't about character assassination, although they may disagree, Eric and Wendy, but you know what, Eric and Wendy, you need to own your behavior, please. You need to own your behavior and take responsibility, because people have been really damaged and hurt, by your actions. And there's still time. There's still time to put all of this to bed and start anew. We're coming up to the end of a year. How about a brand new year with everybody, meeting and being heartfelt, full of love, with that scripture that Sabine's just written, read out. There's no point doing your channel, Eric and Wendy, if you haven't got true love for your brother and sister. We love you. We don't like what you're doing, but we love you, and we've said this all along. And it's got to stop, because you know what? You're going to end up destroying yourselves, my two friends. You're going to end up destroying yourselves, and we're just trying to give you a heads up. Okay, we're here. The lines of communication are open. We won't close you down, but we're going to keep on interviewing, because we've got to raise awareness. And of course, we'll be honest and transparent. There are more interviews to come, so it's up to you guys. Sabine, please take my love back to everybody in Spare and anybody else that you know that I haven't met yet. And until next time, my friend, take care and look after yourself. And you look amazing. You look amazing.
Thank you so much. You for the opportunity, you're just awesome. Thank you so much. And sending you a hug and kiss.
Yeah. Back at you, my friend and sister. Back at you. Okay. Thank you very much. Take care, everybody. Until next time, always show kindness, always show love and forgiveness. And we love every single one of you out there. Thank you.